be like, Norbit.
Better not let me hear you in there. No, these walls are thin. But at the end of the day, I think that talking, because we did a lot. We did a lot of talking. Even now, if our family has something that is pressing us, we come together as a family. We communicate. We talk about it, because it's not always cherries.
Right.
Being family doesn't always, you know, it's not always a walk in the park.
That's right.
Sometimes we got to talk about the stuff that hurts.
That's right.
But it also helps, you know, us to grow together, because I always say this, anything that brings heat, if you stay connected, it'll bind you.
Right.
The heat and you staying connected will cause a seal. But most of the time when the heat comes, people get apart, and then when the heat goes away, that's how they cooled off.
Right.
And so they're not together, and they don't make it work.
Right. And because I had a lack of trust, it really made you and Nikki have to work really hard. But once I really discovered that y'all had my best interests at heart, then it was just, it's been history since then.
Right.
And so I know now, if there's anything, it's because it's my best interest, you know.
Right.
And then same thing with her side, and then makes it work.
And then both of y'all were fighters.
Yeah.
Like,
we're just so similar. And that was another thing, too.
Because both of you all were, we are all alpha females.
Right.
So we're all comfortable with our leadership role, forward movement. We're comfortable with, okay, nobody in front of me, fine. That's the way I like it. And so, yeah, everybody get in the back of the line.
Use in my way
anyway. Yeah, stepping slow. But anyway, and so I think our biggest, what's the word, accomplishment is understanding that, and I always say this, queens, we may be queens of different territories.
Right.
And it doesn't take anything away from me to be in your territory and you're the queen.
Right.
I'm still a queen, just a queen over in France or a queen over in England or a queen, or still a queen. It doesn't take anything away from me to submit myself in your territory and be okay with that.
Right. And this is maybe shifting a little bit going back, but I just had the thought of when I was saying, you know, really getting to know you and knowing you for myself. Along the line, too, there were people that, you know, dropped nuggets that were not good nuggets, you know, so discord. And because of the lack of immaturity or my lack in relationship with Christ, you know, I took hold to those nuggets. Right. And then that just kind of festered into something more. Because I think one of the biggest things I had in the house when it was all three of us, I did kind of feel a little bit more comfortable going and talking to you a little bit. Right. But I knew I couldn't go talk to Nikki because, see, I'm like, it's going to be just a straight-out brawl. And then, see, now I got to move for real. Then where I'm going to go?
You don't have to move. Y'all just be fighting in that side room.
Right. And then you go to sleep and you go to sleep.
That's it.
But that was one thing that I didn't do. I did not go and talk to her. And so because I didn't talk to her, all that stuff just built up. And then created stuff that really didn't have to exist.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up that part about, you know, having people in your ear. Because when you're young, you know, a lot of times that happens.
Right.
People will have an opinion about somebody. And most of the time, the ones who was dropping nuggets in your ear was because the same business I was giving you, I was giving them.
Right.
And they didn't like it either. So it was kind of like, well, we gonna get together and talk about it.
In your house.
In my house.
Ooh, so stupid.
But this is the thing. This is the funny part about it. I'm like, it don't matter. They didn't have enough to come tell me about it. So do what I say in there.
That's where I get it from.
It don't matter. Till you ready to talk about it, it's just, to me, it's irrelevant. Right. At the end of the day, I knew where all of my energy came from. Right. I knew that it was coming from a place of love. Because in the very beginning, I think JR asked me, he said, Mom, is she the one? And I had no insight. I said, she's a nice girl. I like her. Okay, well, the time went on, and then he was away, and he said, Mom, I just need to know, is she the one? I said, son, she is the one.
Man, he just cried.
She's the one. So when I told him that, now that's a whole, we're on another level now.
Right.
Now, you know, we have taken this, I said, now you can go out there and find you somebody if you want to. But she going to be at dinner on Thanksgiving Day.
Right.
Bonnie's going to be sitting right there with your second choice.
Right. No.
That's not going to be
I would have been
comfortable. And so I wanted him to know from the rip that that's how family is.
Right.
You just don't dismiss family so easily.
Right.
And then with you as my daughter by marriage, but my heart for you, you know, it could not be any more if I had birthed you myself.
Right.
And so, but I'm not, I'm also not too unconscious to the thought that I know you belong to another woman as her child.
Right.
But, and I said to myself, even then, I never wanted to take Laverne's place, ever.
Right.
But my love for you was equal to that of my own child.
Right.
Like it couldn't have been any separation, like choose between
Right.
JR and Bonnie. I can't choose between JR and Bonnie. They both mean the world to me. And
Right.
so I think that's where our relationship is right now. And I love you.
I love you too.
That's my baby. But I want people to understand that because their relationship may be in the place as mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, not in a good place, what would be your recommendation to the daughter-in-law? And then I'm going to give my recommendation to the mother-in-law that may help get them to a better place in their relationship.
Just to wrap it up in one, the biggest thing would probably be just be okay with the value that your husband has for his mom. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever role that she plays in his life, be okay with that. Mm-hmm. That's not a role that you will ever be able to fulfill, and you should try and want to fill. Mm-hmm. I think for me now, I try to add value to your role. So whatever way and capacity I can help make him better from what you have gave him or what you're trying to give him now, mm-hmm. how can I add value to that? Then I want to be able to do that. So we are a great team for his support versus us trying to be enemies for him. That doesn't really help him at all.
Trying to play tug of war with him.
Right. That really helps the man be able to be the man and allow him to be able to love and then play both roles well, because I think being a son is important and also being a husband is important. And then I will also say, too, just learning how to be open without really, well, I won't say without offenses, because offenses may come, but know how to deal with them accordingly and be able to love beyond that. Because one thing you mentioned not too long ago was you said everything you did was out of love. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't know what love was until I came around you all. Mm-hmm. You all taught me what love was and how to love. And prior to that, I didn't know. And so sometimes in relationships, you don't really know how to love, or you don't know how to love that particular individual, because everybody receives love in a different way. And so it's a learning curve. You got to be able to say, you cannot marry someone and not accept their family. And I hear that a lot. And when you think of it that way, you're already going into it with a bad
it's gonna
perspective.
Be a rough ride.
You know, you're taking all of them together. That's just how it works.
Because unless the person is disconnected from their own family, unless he's disconnected from his own family, you can't really say, I'm marrying you and not your family. Because now you're putting a pressure point on him to choose between wife and family. And that right there would cause fracture in a marriage. Mm-hmm. That is rough ride. And so I guess my advice to the mother would be is to allow your son to be the man that you feel like you have helped him to become. Trust the work that you've done and that the work that you've put in as a mother to prepare him on how to do for a wife. Also, be prepared to allow him to grow to the place where he's not necessarily your little boy anymore, but your future. You know, the man that's going to bring you your grandchildren now, or or that's going to bring you another one to love into your life.
Right.
Be okay with that, and don't feel any way intimidated by her role,
Right.
because your role is unique in and of itself. You will always, no matter what, 1,000 years from now, it'll be written in the history books, you're his mother.
That's right.
If he have 17 wives,
That's right.
you'll have one mama.
Yeah.
And that'll be you. And you can be okay with that. Just fix your little crown and be okay with your husband embracing, his wife. Because
Right.
that's ultimately what I wanted to see JR do. I wanted JR to be a man that I would be proud to say, if I had a husband, that's him.
Right.
And so whenever he does well to you, he makes me proud, because that's ultimately, in my mind, was my goal.
That's right.
Is that he would be the man that I would be proud to say, if he was my man, I wouldn't mind having a man like that.
That's right.
A gentleman, one who takes care of his family, one who loves his family, one who protects his family, one who puts his family not at risk, one who knows how to put his arm around his family and keep his family together.
That's right.
Is ultimately mine. So, Mom, be okay.
Be okay.
With him growing up to be a man, with him growing up and growing toward another woman other than yourself.
Right.
Because if he and you have a great relationship, that's the one thing he will never set aside.
Right.
Is Mom.
And I would also say, mom or wife or whoever wants to take the initiative, try to establish your own relationship. If you do that, that will make the transition in the relationship with the son or the husband easier.
Right.
Because then you will have some kind of bond and some kind of connection. When y'all come around each other, it won't be awkward. You don't have anything to talk about.
Right.
And,
Right.
just,
that's true.
They need to build some type of relationship.
Outside of him.
Outside of him.
And know this, it doesn't happen overnight.
That's true.
That it does take time and walls to come down and to build a level of comfort with each other that supersedes
Right.
him.
Right.
Yeah, because me and you can be okay without JR.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be
I was
good.
going to say a lot of times.
Love him. Because he can't come home.
Yeah.
So you got to keep him.
You sure? You sure?
Okay.
I keep them.
But at the end of the day, I want people to understand that our relationship took time.
It did.
It took effort. It took energy from both of us to put into it. And at the end, you get out of it what you put into it.
And one thing about the effort, I remember right before JR left to go off to the military, he told me that he wanted me to establish a relationship with you.
Right.
He's like, call my mom, and, I want you to spend some time with my mom, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, that's crazy. Just randomly call your mom. What's up? I remember the first time calling him, like, hey. What to say? But I realized that was important to him. So even through all the differences, it was still part of my mind, because as any wife or significant other, you want to make your significant other or your husband or spouse happy.
Right.
So I knew that was still very important to him. So it was always in the back of my mind, although it didn't look too good and and too promising. it was still there. So I would say, okay, I need to make sure I put forth this effort in these things.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm glad. And I hope that some of what we talked about today, that people have seen themselves, the mothers and daughter-in-laws have seen themselves, and if they don't have a great relationship, that they can have hope.
Right.
That they too can build a relationship, a bond, and have this relationship as a mother and a daughter should in the family, and keep the family healthy.
Right.
Right, because whenever there's just, it causes unhealthiness in
That's
the family.
right.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
You know I love you, boo-boo.
I love you too.
It's my baby.
I know.
Well, we've given you what it took for us to build our relationship, our mother and daughter relationship. And I know that it can be tough, especially when there are different circumstances in place. But all I can say is this, is that it's workable. All we have to do is communicate, trust, build relationship, understand that there's differences, and be okay with those differences. At the end of the day, love one another. That's the key. And until next week, I'll see you back here at the round table.
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.